Good evening and welcome to EBN TV. And this is the Spheres of Life. We are coming live to you from Buruburu, and this is where we get to talk. This is where we get to engage. So the Spheres of Life make sure that we have accountability, we have objectivity, we have transparency, and we have sanity in whatever thing we are doing. So we make sure that we understand every meander, every corner, and we understand every corner and how to navigate through every challenge and struggles of life. So welcome to EBN TV. And as we said and we notified you last Thursday, we shall be coming to you live from EBN TV from 7:30 to 8:15 p.m. And this will be taking place every Sunday. So welcome. Kindly let us know where are you joining us from. Let us know where you service today, and let us know how your Sunday was. So today, we are having a great guest, and the guest will be introducing herself to you in a short while. So our topic today is the singing vessel, and these are the issues that make our young people sing and that make young people fade. So please sit well and listen to what we're sharing to you tonight. So welcome. I'm your host, Jeff Kimayo.
And me, Carolyne Muthoni. We are grateful for having you here on our show Spheres of Life, from wherever you're tuning us from, whether from your home screen or our social media platforms. That's on YouTube, The Legend Productions, and also in Facebook and Instagram, Jeff Somba the Legend. If you have any questions to ask about our topic today, please feel free to ask, and the questions will be answered to you by our amazing guest, Neema. So stay tuned.
Thank you and welcome again. So welcome, Neema, to EBN Studios.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
How was your day?
My day was great. How about yours?
We've had a great day. We enjoyed in the service that we had today since morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so feel free here on EBN TV.
Thank you.
This is what we call the Spheres of Life. And Spheres of Life means that we share, we talk, we engage, and we make sure that we reclaim people who are maybe held up in mud somewhere, and maybe who are held up in issues that are so challenging, and maybe by themselves and by their energy, they find it so challenging for them to find a way out of the issues. And again, it is a men's mental health awareness month.
It is. Yes, it is. Yes, it
is.
It is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I applaud the person who brought up this great initiative, because when we look at statistics, you find that when we look at suicide rates, men are killing themselves more because of various issues, and they lack the means to tackle these issues. So I believe this is a month where we are going to create even more awareness for men, for them to know that they're able to talk about their issues, and they're able to navigate any issue in life. Yeah.
That's great. So before we enter into our topic tonight, one word, one statement or one sentence for men outside there, young, old, middle-aged.
Vulnerability is not weakness. Opening up is not weakness. I know it's a debated upon issue to see a man shedding tears in public. But once you get to that point of vulnerability, it does not mean you're weak. Your mental health matters. Your issues matter. You are important to the society and to people you impact. So your health mentally, what you think about, how you process your feelings, how you process your struggles, and how you create even awareness and solutions to these problems matters. So I would advocate men out there to speak up to a fellow man, get help, therapy works, talk to religious leaders, just find help. Just find help. Vulnerability is not weakness.
That's great.
Thank you.
I think you're getting us very well and clear, my audience. And as we are starting off this journey on the Spheres of Life tonight, and as I said earlier, that our topic tonight, or the issue that we are handling tonight, is the singing vessel. And as you've heard, the man, vulnerability is not weakness. So you have to talk. If you have to cry, you have to cry. And if you have to express yourself, you have to do it, and you have to do it extremely. So that this month, is knocking very closely to our topic tonight, because we are talking about the issues that affect young people, and why you see young people are not growing, and again, why you see young people are not up to the task that they are supposed to have. So tonight, once again, we are having a great guest, and we are navigating through that topic, the sinking vessel. So Nema,
Yes.
how is youth stage?
We cannot put a blind eye to the fact that our young people are going through a lot of issues. And I would credit it to the changing times. When we look at 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, and now we're in 2020s. Issues are changing. Things are evolving. How we used to do things back then is not how we do things now. The issues they were facing then are not the issues we're facing now. So I actually applaud this show for talking about this great topic, because I believe even our conversation tonight will give us awareness and solutions as to how we are going to solve situations that are happening now.
Okay, that's great. So what is the gap between old people, or even that long time and now, as far as some changes in advancements are?
I would like to look at probably the generational gaps. When we look at it from that angle, we will find that the generations are different. Characteristics of each and every generation is also different. That means the language of these different generations is also different. Therefore, if we're dealing with Gen Z, for example, we have to look at how do they speak, how do they tackle issues. If we look at millennials, we also have to look at how they talk, how they understand issues, so that when we want to address specific issues for Gen Z, we know how to talk to them and how to address them. If we are looking at millennials, we have to know what issues are specific to millennials and how are we going to address them. So I would say the issues they need to be looked at in terms of the different generational gaps.
And how do you think we should tackle this problem according to those groups you've mentioned?
Okay, I would say that, just as I've mentioned, let's tackle each generation by itself. So we cannot deal with everybody as a whole. Okay, we have to understand we are all different. So if we look at Generation Z, we have to realize, for instance, issues of education, like I know we are going to mention as we proceed with the show.
Yes, we are mentioning that.
We have to know that the education system now is different. The education system that was there back then is a little bit different. So there are new challenges present themselves for each and different generation. So, for instance, if we're dealing with how to tackle the different generational issues, let us look at first understanding what are their patterns. What are their patterns? What is their language? And then we come up with solutions. And I think with that, we're going to understand them individually and help them on their individual level.
Okay. So one of the issues that are making young people sink, it is education and maybe inequality and declining quality. Education inequality and declining quality. So how does that affect or make young people sink? Because as we grow, and maybe as our fathers and our parents make us grow or even bring us up, I think there are some things that they are supposed to give unto us, or even they were supposed to inherit from them. And one of them is education. So how is education inequality and declining or poor quality nowadays is making young people sink or fade?
I think first we have to credit the efforts of the government and different organizations in trying to rationalize and put education equal. But one thing we have to understand is that there are two different aspects, equality and equity. So distribution of educational resources are distributed differently. And even as we look at statistics, you'll find that still, even now, as the government, as different groups try to remedy the gaps in education, there are still children who are out of the education system. Actually, you'll find that 17.2% of the world's total population on children are not going to school still. So that lack of education is setting them back in comparison to their peers. And when we are tackling distribution of educational resources, it needs to be done in terms of equality, not equity. By that I mean, equality is distributing educational resources to each and every child in each and every sector. But when we look at equity, equity is distribution of resources only for those who don't have. That means those who have, we don't consider them at all, and those who don't have, we focus mainly on them. And that is a bit problematic because you'll find that it will only rise up during political seasons where politicians want to give us promises, bursaries and everything. So that is giving educational or distributing educational resources in terms of equity. But once we start distributing educational resources equally to each and every children out there, then we will ensure we close that gap. However, we have to agree that lack of an equal balance in education sets the students apart. The challenges that are happening now needs everybody to be out there. They have knowledge, they need to be aware. But if there's some children who are not aware, they will not be able to tackle the problems that are going to face them.
Okay, so what are some of the considerations or even criteria that this government institutions should use when they are dispersing resources to different schools or children?
We have to credit devolution. Devolution came to remedy this solution. But I can say, to some extent, devolution is failing us. What is the distribution of financial resources to different counties? How is it done? So once we tackle that and we ensure that the counties are getting finances equally, then it will be able to trickle down. MPs will get bursaries, CDF funds will be full. And also the kind of leaders that we elect, we need to be careful to ensure that we elect leaders that are aware of our problems and are ready to remedy our problems. So on the ballot box, make sure you look for someone whose remedy is for the people, not for their own gain.
And who's their art is for the people.
Yes.
Okay.
Speaking of education still, the current mode that we used to have, the 844, and the current one that we have, the CBC, maybe in molding this behavior maybe of the sinking vessel for them to be better, how do you think, is it making sense, or is it going to mold them the way they are saying it will?
And maybe adding on that, as far as the expenditure is concerned on the current curriculum.
When we look at the difference between the current curriculum and the previous curriculum, I, being a proponent of the 844 system, I would say the curriculum was not fully inclusive. Because you'll find that I am more into arts, but I have been forced into sciences. And in the application of my life, I am not using sciences anywhere. But when we look at the CBC mode, it is trying to incorporate real life situations into the child, into the education system. However, maybe a challenge presents itself when it comes to the teaching staff. How well are they equipped to teach the CBC method?
And maybe the resources that they need.
Because you find sometimes the pressure is on the parents.
Yes. So the question that I wanted us to look at and maybe poke some holes is how well prepared are these members of staff? How well are they equipped to teach the CBC? Are the teachers aware of what they're doing? Are the resources available? And maybe our education sector also needs to look at a comparative study. Where did we borrow the CBC from? Did it work there so that it can work here? Is it a success story or was it a failure? But we need to really look at the resources of the teachers in teaching the CBC.
Okay, that is great, because parents outside there, I think, are pinned in a way because of the resources, maybe the items that they need to use for the new curriculum. But all in all, it has got its advantages and disadvantages. So what is the advantage of the SEM?
The advantages of the
CBC,
as we have mentioned, I feel, now that I have not been into the CBC, however, from observation, I would say that it really tries to incorporate real life challenges into the education system. However, maybe I would question, is it really including everything? Because one aspect that I find now young people grappling with that should have been taught in school is something, for instance, like financial management. You know, we learn business, we do balance sheets, 3-column cash books, 2-column cash books, but let's trickle it down to my personal life. Once I get my salary, once I make my income from my business, how well am I managing my finances? I feel that should be taught in school. However, for the CBC, I know it's more inclusive, you know, and I like that also the practical aspect, as you have mentioned, is also incorporated, where that you find that the parent is also very much aligned with what's going on. Unfortunately, for the 844 system, it was student-based completely. It was student-based. Another disadvantage of the 844, I felt it was more of cram. I called it CPF. Cram, pass, forget. But for CBC, you have to take time and understand. And your parent is involved in your life, so they know what's going on. And that will help also the parent monitor, where is my child at? You know, what is the level of my child academically? So if there are areas where we need to put more focus on, the parent is able to see, okay, my child is failing here, so we need to focus here. My child is not good in this, we need to focus here. For the disadvantages, as we have mentioned, are the resources enough? Are the teachers aware? Are there books? And also you'll find that the parents are also a little bit too busy because they are chasing money. They are chasing to give their children a comfortable life. So you'll find that if the student is solely dependent on the parent to finalize their studies or homework, and the parent is not available, then that leaves a gap. What happens to this child? And I feel also for the parents, they'll also need to attend some training to be able to know, how do I help my child? The parents, most of them are 844, and some are CPE students, CPE students. So they also need some little bit of training, parent-teacher training, to know, once we go back at home, this is how you continue the learning process. It needs to be continuous, from school to home. So that's what I would say are some of the advantages.
That is great. And I think as we finishing with the issue of education here, one of the most important issue and the most fundamental issue here is about financing and facilitation of the same. So one word for the people concerned. Let me call them people tonight, because maybe the bodies are diverse that are concerned with the issue of CBC. So which word can you give out to them so that they do a better facilitation of the CBC system? Okay,
for the stakeholders in the education system, I think it is the cry of the nation that we need more resources, and the resources need to come down to the level of the student. A student in Turkana, if they need a laptop, if they need an electronic device, the education system ought to provide and facilitate this. So maybe for our stakeholders in the education sector, let's see how the resources are going to trickle down to the students' level completely. And with that, we'll be able to have a seamless program.
Another issue of the sinking vessels of the youth nowadays is the mental issues. So what's your opinion on this, or what are the factors that are factors from the mental issue affecting the youths in the sinking vessels?
I think when we talk about mental health, that's a very, very serious and broad aspect. So I applaud the new generation that is taking time to know and create awareness on mental health. And they also are creating avenues to find help. These days, going for therapy is not a thing of the past. It's not frowned upon. Seeing a psychiatrist is not frowned upon. Everyone is encouraged to have an active therapy session, counseling. And one thing we need to know, counseling is not only when times are bad.
Yeah.
You don't go for therapy when your life is sinking. Even when things are afloat, you need therapy, you need counseling. You need to constantly talk about people just to ensure that you're really going on the right direction. Yeah. However, when we talk about mental health, I call them change-based disorders or change-based behaviors. These are problems that come when we experience change. And change is inevitable. We all know change is inevitable. At every stage of our life, we go through change. So how do we tackle the change? That's where you get anxiety, you know. You look at changing even schools for some children. They don't know how to make friends. The environment is not familiar, and then they tense. They're anxious. You can't sleep. You're having panic attacks and things like that. So once we know how to navigate change, which is a constant factor of life, then we'll be able to tackle mental health issues.
And a lot of youth outside there are living in peer pressure. There are some people who are controlling their lives by the things they are using as far as addiction is concerned, alcoholism, and all sort of issues of the same kind. So what are some of the issues that deteriorate mental health in our youth?
I would say let's begin with something that is so prevalent now, social media. It is the menace that has come to finish us completely because I think social media presents different platforms and you get to see people from all walks of life. And you get the pressure to, I want to be like so-and-so. This young person, influencer, bought a car. They bought this, they bought that. I also want that kind of life, not realizing that the truth is there is a process for this. One thing I know is that in life you need to pass the test of time. In everything, even in financial success, you need to pass the test of time because there are certain principles you need to follow in order to attain certain goals. So one thing that really brings about this mental health issues in young people is comparison. Comparison is a thief of all joy. And one thing we need to know is that everybody is going through life at their own pace. You can never compare the sun and the moon. Both of them give light, but they shine in their own time. So you have to realize you will shine at your own time. And there's no hurry. For us Christians, we believe God is the author of time. So what am I chasing? Who has put a mark that by 30 I need to get married? And if I don't get married by 30, I'm doomed.
There is stigma in that.
You need to know you need to live your own life. The life is yours. It's unfortunate, but once you realize, life is so fickle. And once it's past, no one really cares she got married at 28. We won't read in your eulogy that, you know, there's no trophy for getting married early. There's no trophy for getting married late. The most important thing is ensuring that you live life in your own pace, at your own time. And of importance is to ensure you are satisfied and you're happy.
And what kind of support do the youth really need on mental issues?
We need forums to talk to young people. I think I would talk to the older generation to lessen the pressure. Because we ape a lot from them. And actually we expect a lot of guidance from them. So if it's a trickle effect, it's unfortunate that it's a trickle effect. So when we look at the older generation, if they got pressured, they will pressure us, and we pressure, and it will be a cycle.
It is a process of giving pressure to maybe
so we need to nip it at the bud and know that now the older people need to tell us it's okay. Everybody has their own time. Do things at your own time. Set goals for yourself, and they ought to be realistic.
But I think there is a force maybe from different parents. Because maybe I suffered a lot, maybe paying your school fees, so I'm so much expectant from you. So do you think that is one of the issues that are affecting our health upstairs?
Wow, that is very, very true. Some parents actually look at their kids as investments, as you mentioned. But what we all know is, as much as I'm not a parent yet, but I know I will be by God's grace very soon. However, what I know is that the race I'm running and the race my parents are running are completely different. And their lives are not dependent on mine in any
True.
way.
Yeah.
Before they were parents, they were individuals. And parents never lose their individualism at all, even
because
when they are
yes.
Yes. Sometimes I look at my parents and I just imagine he's just a gentleman like any other. He's a man, she's a woman, she has emotions and feelings like any other woman. But because I'm a child, I've only looked at them from one lens. This is mom. But what if you look at them as that's joy? Imagine that's joy. They have their own life, independent from me. And the parents also need to realize that I have a life independent from my child. So those things I did not do, I cannot live vicariously through my child. That is very true. So that separation needs to be established.
So how high should a parent expect from their children?
I would say there's no parent who wishes their children bad thoughts. And I know, even I'm not speaking for everybody, but I believe most parents push their kids because they want the best from them. The best of gold passes through fire. You know, iron, for it to be molded, it passes through fire. So that's your fire. But what's the purpose of the fire? It is not to victimize you, to make you feel less than.
Or even exploit.
It's not to exploit you. Also, as children, we ought to wear that mentality that it is for my benefit. It is for my benefit. And my parent wants the best for me.
Are there challenges that come with pushing the child too far?
There are. What I would tell parents to frown upon completely is comparison, just as we've said.
True,
Your child is an independent child from anybody. My abilities are independent to me. How I speak is independent to me. How I walk, how I talk. My educational capabilities, you know, it's different. So you need to celebrate me and push me to my level. I cannot be like so and so, and I cannot expect. Imagine if children told their parents, why aren't you like Baba Nani? You know, it can't work.
And I think
like
it happens sometimes. It happens sometimes to people, because I think that as a child, that is how I'm in school, maybe in primary school or even in high school. That is how I see my fellow students or pupils live there or come with the different things of items of high quality. So I have to compare myself to them. I have to ask myself questions. I have to have a monologue, and when I get back to the house, I have to maybe gather some strength to ask my parents the same questions that you're referring to. But I know it happens because we are talking about the issue of pressure that makes young people sing. So I'll come to you and tell you, I saw so and so with that tough issue, and mine
is worn out.
Allow me to give a personal example and experience, not to expose my parents. They are great parents. However, when I was in class 1, I remember there was this girl called Rita. She used to be dropped by her dad every morning. However, in contrast, my sister and I used to walk to school. Not that it was very far, but we used to walk to school. And when I look at Rita's dad, Rita's dad looked rich. He had a Pajero, and he had a kabeli, you know. And I used to wonder, my dad then was a little bit small, so I used to ask myself, why doesn't my dad have a pot belly? Because I know pot belly is for rich people. So I'd go home and look at my dad and I wonder, why does my dad not have a pot belly? But the good thing with my parents is that, and I would advise for all parents, is to have an open line of communication. Have an open line of communication. So I was able to approach my dad and told my dad, why does Rita get dropped? And I cannot even afford the school bus. I see children being picked every day and I'm not picked. I see children eating school lunch and I have to go home every time. But my parents were gracious enough to make me understand that that's our season and one day we're gonna get there. But you have to understand it's a process. And he made me aware that even them, we might not know, but there are struggles in their level. So just walk within your level and one day you will get there. And it's not a bad thing not to have money. Enjoy the experience. Live in the moment and one day it will come.
Okay. So once you find that you're not doing well financially or whichever style of life, and you pose a pressure to your parents, what do you expect from them? Now, this is going to someone maybe who is giving pressure to their parents that I need to have this, we need to own this, because as we say it again and again, these are the issues that affect our youth.
Yes.
That are the issues that make our youth fade because of over expectations. Yeah, so what do you expect from your parents if you try to push them to?
It happens in schools. You see some children are embarrassed of their parents, you know. Some are driving and you don't even want your mom to walk close to you because you feel she's not dressed like, she's not presentable. She doesn't smell as good of perfumes like other moms do. But I think as children also, we need to call ourselves for a meeting and understand that there is no parent who is intentionally not doing their best. There's no parent who is intentionally putting you in suffering. So you have to understand, even as a child, and there's no pressure. Who are you competing against? You know, there is absolutely no competition to achieve anything. We have said that we are all walking our own race individually. So as a child, you need to call yourself for a meeting and ask yourself, why do I feel the need? Is it to be accepted? Is it, do I want approval from my peers?
Or even do I have to be valid?
Do I feel I need to belong? And actually look within. Why do you feel you need to be accepted by people? Don't you feel you're enough by yourself? Don't you feel you are enough when you stand in front of people, even with your tone? Where is your confidence? Don't you know who you are? What's your identity? Once you ask yourself those questions, you'll be able to sit right in your position and not let anyone intimidate you by anything. I think the solution to that is for young people to just understand who they are. Once you know who you are, that's it. You will not be intimidated by anybody.
That is great. So let's get what our audience are saying to us.
Our audience are engaging. I can see Mika saying watching, Immaculate Muthoni saying tuned in, Kennedy Mainge saying great show indeed, Delvis Mwanzige saying amazing, following, Ndeti Emmanuel saying tuned in, loving the show, and Emmanuel Mwita saying tuned in. You can also continue engaging with us on our social media platforms. Again, that's on YouTube, The Legend Productions, and also in Facebook and Instagram, Jeff Somba the Legend, and I'll read your comments.
Thank you. So we are getting back to our session, and one of the issues that is affecting our audience and people outside there is the issues that are weighing them down are issues of expectation. So you have to live by yourself. You have to live your own self. You have to know every life as a process and every process as a step. So getting back to our guest, young people, we are still there.
Yes.
So put into addiction. And maybe they are into addiction because they want to hide something. They want to disguise their true and real identity of themselves. What is the alternative of addiction, of the issues that they are grappling with, or the issues that are trying to disturb them in life?
When we look at addiction of any form, it could be alcohol, it could be other forms of drug abuse. It's always because you are running away from something. You are running away from a particular problem. So the first thing that we ought to do in order to remedy this is awareness. You ought to be self-aware. And you have to accept what you're dealing with. Face it head on. One thing I keep telling myself and reminding people around me is that no one is coming to save you. You are saving yourself. So I have to face my issues head on. And even if I don't tackle it now, I'll have to tackle it later. Because even if I get drunk and drink the alcohol now to forget my problems, does that mean the problems have gone away? No,
does not mean
the problems are still there. So the solution for that is just deal with the problem. First, awareness. Know what is the problem. Two, now deal with it head on. Seek help. Look for people who have gone before you. Because it's not a unique case. You are not the first one to go through that. And you will not be the last. Actually, once you equip yourself, you'll be able to help other people So you just need to be aware of what's going on and deal with the problem.
Another issue being the community support. Unlike the past days where we had a child belonging to the community, in these days we find that the community doesn't have a say on what you do, how you live in your life. So how do you think the community in the current day should support the current generation in terms of the challenges that they are facing?
We keep saying there's nothing new under the sun, and it's unfortunate, but it keeps repeating itself. Let me sidetrack a little bit, because even when you look at fashion, it keeps repeating itself. People wore bell bottoms, and now they're wearing the same thing as fashion.
True.
So even when it comes to different mechanisms of tackling with issues, how the society was, it will repeat itself. We have become a very individualized society, and we do not want that sense of community. Everybody, my child is my child. Don't beat my child. Don't discipline my child. I will do it myself. But once we go back to the community sector, where a child is a child of the community, there will be access for other people who even know more than I do in parenting to be able to help me do better and be better. So I think maybe we need to embrace the good norms that were there back then to help us become better.
Okay, that is nice. And remember, you are listening to The Spheres of Life from EBN TV. And because of time, we shall be getting back to you another time to finish this topic. The sinking vessel is a very incredible topic that you don't have to leave until we finish everything that we are doing. But because of time, we are getting the final word from our guest. And remember, again and again, we shall be coming to you live from EBN TV every Sunday from 7:30 to 8:15. So we shall get back with the same topic. So, I guess your final word.
My final word to the people watching, and in relation to the topic that we were talking about, the sinking vessel, there is one thing that never needs to die, is determination. As long as you're determined to get to your goal, you will look for ways, you look for mechanisms to go around the challenges that you're facing. You need to be aware, dear listeners, that your challenges are not unique to you. People before you have gone through what you are going through. People after you have gone through what you're going through. So you need to understand you are not sinking alone. So look for things we call floaters and hold on to it. You should not get into water with stones, you know. So you need to look for ways to make your burden light. Pressure, social media pressure. The microwave generation, where you need things pop. You want things now. I need a car now. I need an iPhone 15 now. It can work like that. You need to follow the process. We say trust the process, and many people think it's a joke. But you actually need to pass the test of time. Good things come to those who wait. Thank you.
Okay, my dear viewers, mine is to wish you a good night, of course, and thank you for tuning in to our program today, Spheres of Life, tackling the sinking vessel. I hope you've learned something. And also, as we wrap up the show for today, remember that the engagement doesn't end here. You can continue getting into contact with us on our social media platforms. That's on YouTube, The Legend Productions, and also in Facebook and Instagram, Jeff Somba the Legend. And also a big thank you to our media crew for making this show a big success tonight. Have a good night.
Thank you, and we are so happy to have you listen to us tonight. The topic has been the Spheres of Life here on EBN TV. We are humbled and honored to have hosted Neema Ndeti, a lawyer. So keep holding on to this media station. This is EBN TV for further and for greater engagement. So until next time, we want to wish you a great week with purpose, and a great week of success and prosperity. I have been your host, Jeff Kimayu, and until next time, have yourselves a good night.